Hi, my name's Lockie, I'm a guy with plants and welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the long absence, it's definitely been a long while since my last video. Life just kind of got busy last year. I couldn't really keep up with the video content, so I didn't. If you follow my Instagram @guy_with_plants, you'll see more of my image content and just my sort of daily journey with my plants. I'm a bit more active on there. Today, as you can tell by the video title, we're going to be going through 5 more plants that I have gotten off little old ladies. So let's just get started. It was actually a planty friend on Instagram that got me motivated to film this video. I'll put her Instagram name up here. But her discovering my videos kind of motivated me to film this one. And so as you can tell by the video title, we're going to be going through 5 more plants I've gotten off little old ladies. And so let's just get started. So of course, the thing about getting plants off little old ladies and just older gardens in general is you're often going to find specimens of plants that are a lot bigger and a lot more established than what you're going to find in big box stores, nurseries, garden centers, that sort of thing. So the theme of this video is kind of more mature, established plants. The first plant I'm going to talk about is a cactus, which means, very easy to care for, lots of light, not lots of water, and it will generally chug along fine by itself. But I'll just grab it up. Now, I'm not sure if this is gonna be in frame. It's definitely not gonna be in the whole frame, but this is an Opuntia, or a prickly pear. I might put it on the ground. I just have a box here to put my plants on so that I can show you guys a bit better, but I might intersperse this with some other footage from just elsewhere. But this is a prickly pear. It's actually a weed species in my location. I live in Australia, and we actually had a crisis in the 1800s because these were an introduced plant. And they just were taking over farmland at a pace that was faster than the farmers could keep up with. They're so hardy that they were literally overtaking farmland. So they don't actually get sold in hardware stores or garden centers in my country, at least, simply because the risk is too high. These will, go wild and cause more of a problem than they're worth. But you can still find them in random locations, just locally. There's lots of cactus patches around the city that I live in, and you can just go and grab yourself some. Nobody's going to complain, nobody's going to have a problem with you for doing that. This one I got from the garden of a lady that I work with. I chose it because I'm not sure if you can see, but originally it was just these 2 paddles here. Paddles is what these things are called. And I chose it because it had a little hole through here, and I thought that it might be fun to hang and I have before, hang like an air plant or something off of it, to add a little bit extra decoration. You guys know how much I like to decorate my plants. But I just like this one because it's so stately to me. It adds a really mature sort of aura, I think, to my plant space and my other plants in general. It has a very interesting form with the way that it's flat and upright. It's the prickly pear as well. This one hasn't flowered for me yet, but they fruit after flowering, generally in the spring. This one will probably flower next spring. It was too early for it to be established and grow a fruit for me now. But yeah, I'm really excited. Hopefully next year it will give me some fruit and I can experience a little bit more of the prickly pear journey. So I would recommend, if you want to keep these, that you obviously keep them in a container. If you're in an area that is hot and dry, they will probably take over. But yeah, they're just a really cool cactus. I love the color. You know, it's sort of bluey green and adds, yeah, a really nice aura to your plant space. So that is the prickly pear. The next plant I'd like to talk about is the Hoya Carnosa. I might come a little bit closer to the camera to show you. I don't know how well this is going to show up, but yeah, so this is the Hoya Carnosa. I think I overwatered this one because it's lost a couple leaves and this one's going a little yellow as well. So especially the Hoya Carnosa, this is an extremely common plant. You know, like Hoyas in general have exploded in popularity in the last year or two, what with quarantines around the world, you know, how houseplants have jumped up in popularity. Hoyas have recently kind of jumped into the spotlight and they are extremely popular in my area. You know, in Australia, we have really strict biosecurity laws, so not many plants can be imported from overseas. So we only have a few growers of these sorts of things, you know, in the country. And as they release each batch, they fly off the shelves. It's ridiculous. They're gone in like as soon as they get into the shop, pretty much. And it leaves a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth for Hoyas, which are so slow growing, to be so popular and to be flying off the shelf so quickly, because they only come in little plugs or single flying clippings, you know, very small plants. And because they're so slow growing, it's going to take a really long time to get a full plant, if that's what you desire, you know. Like, I'm someone who kind of hates repropagating plants and taking cuttings of plants and putting it back into the soil in order to get a lusher plant. You know, sometimes that's something you have to do, but it's something that is just so irritating to me, like especially with Hoyas, where the process takes a lot longer because they are so slow growing. A way to circumvent that is to scour the gardens of any old ladies you may know, because more often than not, especially with the Carnosa varieties, they may have a pot there that's been undisturbed since at least 1994, you know what I mean? And it's going to be lush, it's going to be overgrown, it's going to be huge. And as you can see from some of the leaves on this plant, the mother plant that I got this off, this one was from my great-grandma, has been growing for God knows how long. She doesn't know how long. And it's already popped out these 3 growth vines for me. And yeah, so it could be as simple as just taking one of those vines off of one of those mother plants that may be growing at any of the old ladies that you know's house. Maybe as simple as just chopping one single vine up and putting all those leaf cuttings in top of a pot, and like within 6 months, you'll probably have a very lush, full sort of plant. I find with the Hoyas, when you propagate them, you need to keep the soil wet enough to get the roots to like come out and grow. But once they get to that stage where they're growing on their own, you need to back off on the watering. I've not done that to the most perfect level, because this one's lost a couple leaves, but it's all balanced. It's all a learning process. But yeah, so this is the Hoya Carnosa, very super common plant, but because of its popularity nowadays, just all these varieties, your best bet to get a big plant is to make your own big plant from another big plant that could be growing in your area. So Hoya Carnosa. The next plant I have for you guys is this Kalinkowi. Now, Kalinkowi's are a genus of succulents. They are super diverse. You can have, there's mother of thousands, which are the ones that self-propagate on the tip of the leaves. You've got the Panda Kalinkowi, I think it's called, which has the fuzzy leaves and the brown dots on the edge of the leaves. I'm not really sure, I will do some research for this video. I'm not really sure what this guy's name is. But he's a really, really lush Kalinkowi. The way that you can tell that they're Kalinkowis is they generally have these sorts of scalloped leaves on the edges where they have that sort of like pattern like that. This guy's so lush. I got this one, this is another one off of my great-grandma. And I grew it from 2 leaves, 2 of like a leaf like that. So You know, you don't always need a large amount of plant material to create a very lush full plant. This guy's outside in the full sun, so you know that's probably an aid as to why it's so big now. But something that I did was, you know, I just pinched each of the stems as they grew to create the dividing sort of habit. And it's really come a long way from when I first had it. As you can see, it's really lush, it's really full. I may have to up pot it soon because I think the weight of the plant on top is starting to become a little bit more than the actual weight of the pot itself. This guy is about just over 2 years old. He was one of my original plants. So yeah, that's probably why as well it's gotten this big. But something that surprised me growing this plant was the mother plant that I got the 2 original leaves off was a really deep crimson color, like very red. And you know, as it's grown, it's lost that red color. Still got bits and pieces, you know, on the edge or undersides of the leaves. But it's become more of a green color. And I use the succulent fertilizer spikes that you just push directly into the soil. And what I've noticed is that whenever I refresh the application, so I put another one in, it becomes a lot greener, a lot deeper of a green, and it sends out a lot of growth. So maybe it's got something to do with the nutrient balance of a plant. To be able to get that color, you may have to stop fertilizing it or you know, just treat it differently, because sometimes with succulents the colors are sun stress, which happens from sun stress, you know, just being in the full sun. That can happen with Hoyas as well. And other times it might be a nutrient balance sort of issue, you know, where if it's got everything that it needs, it may just grow and grow and grow. Whereas if it starts to have to conserve, you know, what it's got, it may develop that sort of patina sort of color. There you have it, Kalinkowi. This plant is one of the favorites in my entire collection. It's a Cissus. This is a Cissus, I believe, maybe Danica. Let me just see if I can, oh, there's not super, I'm filming in kind of dim conditions today because it's rainy and wet and I don't have much light in general inside my house. But yeah, so this is a Cissus. I think it's Danica, I could be wrong. I just love this plant. It's so enchanting. I think its growth habit is really pretty. I think its leaves are really unique and dainty. Feels like it would grow somewhere in a fairy tale forest, like just cascading down. This one is 3 cuttings that I got from an older couple that I work with, and their plant actually died. So these took 1 billion years to root. There was a lot riding on them. They were looking sicker and sicker as they did root, and I didn't think that I would get a plant out of it. So every time I look at this plant, I'm reminded of how much effort I went through to keep it alive, and it brings me a lot of joy because of how pretty it is and because of how unique it is. I am starting to see these sold in garden stores around the area that I am in, but you know, before I had seen this plant in its original home, I mean the original plant, I'd never seen one before, and I instantly fell in love. It spills out of its pot, like the growth habit is very, you know, out there, and it will come out and spill and kind of like tumble down the pot, which really accentuates this 3 kind of petaled, I guess, leaf. This one is in leca, which was a last-ditched attempt to keep those cuttings alive, and as you can see, it was super successful. They're doing really, really well. They won't stop growing. They're sending out heaps of new shoots, and hopefully, you know, it's going to be a multiple pronged sort of plant and it will hang down. You know, a mature one of these looks phenomenal. It really hangs out of its plant, spills, drapes down in a really cascading fashion. It's something that you don't see very often. I have seen these around places though, which is why I think they were popular, you know, a few years ago, because I have seen walls in the city that have just got a heap growing on them, and I think they lose a little bit of their enchantment when they're in such a heavy, dense sort of situation, because you can't really see the individual leaf shape and it loses that cascading sort of growth habit and becomes just more of a vine. They're also called grape ivy, which is a fun fact. I am definitely one for ornamental varieties of vegetables, fruits, those sorts of things. You can get like ornamental sweet potato, for instance, which is purple, and that looks amazing as well. But that's not this plant. We're getting off topic. But yeah, so that's my Cissus allandanica. Yeah, that's all I have to say about this one. Now I'm not sure if you've been able to see this plant the entire time in the background, but I'll spoil it. It's a snake plant, and I can say that before I saw this specimen, I was definitely not a snake plant person. I thought they were kind of boring, you know. I just thought they were quite ugly as like the way that they grew, and also in the colors that were on them. I'm thinking specifically of the variety that has the striped variegation up the sides of the leaf. That one, even still, I'm thinking that's quite ugly. More power to you if you like it and you think it's pretty and you've got it in your home, but it's just not my thing. But this one turned me into a complete snake plant person. I love them. This variety is just insane. I'll go ahead and bring it in frame. I'm not sure if you've been able to see it the entire time, but it's crazy. It's so big. It's on the floor, and that's where I'm standing, and that's how high this plant is, like, to me. What? What? That's huge. How does that happen? I don't understand. Anyway, but the appeal of this plant is entirely in the size of the leaves, because beforehand, you know, I thought the maximum size of a snake plant might get is about that high, you know, but this one's huge. It was growing in a little bit of a strange situation. There was a hibiscus tree, and they can get quite bushy and shrubby, and it was just growing in the undergrowth of that. So it was super high. I had to like crawl under the tree to get the cuttings that I wanted. But yeah, I took another old lady's garden, you know, where these plants start to run wild and take over the space and really come into their own. That's when you find specimens like this. Because it's just, yeah, it's huge. It's got some new growth at the bottom here. I'm not sure if you can see, I don't want to like stab, but there's a little bit of new growth here. And I'm not sure if that will reach the same size as the original leaves. I'm not sure if they'll do that for me inside. I'm not sure whether there's enough light inside for them to be able to do that. But I'm just very excited about the future of this plant, because if it gets really big, like, that's just, I can't move past the size of these snake plants. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about this guy, this huge snake plant. Yeah, so that's that. They've also been reclassified as Dracaena. So these are Sansevierias, but they've been moved into the Dracaena genus. So that about does the video. I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope you've enjoyed 5 more plants that I got from Little Old Ladies. I hope it inspires you to track down your local Little Old Ladies and see what they have to offer. And yeah, so like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and hopefully there will be more on the way. Thanks. See ya.